What's going on, everybody? Joshua Tree back with another video. Today's video is going to be catered directly to men and doing some men healing work. So I'm going to be talking about the power of self-love, a huge misconception about what self-love is. I'm also going to be talking about the shame around emotional expression, and I'm also going to be talking about the inner critic and how to also heal the inner critic, because that's something that a lot of us are constantly challenged with as men. So this video is strictly catered for men, but also, women can also listen as well. It's be very helpful. Before we get into that, I just want to share that I do have an upcoming event this Sunday, February 16th, at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm doing a virtual breathwork event just for men only. I highly suggest that anyone who's looking to do some healing work, looking to release some type of trauma, releasing some type of emotional stress, mental clarity, or just haven't been feeling yourself lately, I highly suggest that you join that particular breathwork event. I will leave the link in description for people who are interested in it. And also, you can visit my website at touchbyjoshuatree.com, TOUCH by joshuatree.com. All right, so let's just get into this video. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of background story about me, just real brief. I am someone who have invested into over maybe 9 years of emotional healing. I've studied a lot of various different things, from energy healing to tantra to kundalini, yoga, different forms of yoga, the subconscious mind. I got into occult sciences, um, inner child work, you name it. I've been investing into a lot of different healing modalities. And my biggest drive was that I experienced a heartbreak when I was like 27 years old, 28 years old. And that put me on a journey to want to heal. But I took it to a whole nother level. I became very obsessed. I became very obsessed with wanting to heal. So much so, I was kind of like a self-help junkie or a self-help junkie. I invested into courses after courses after courses because I felt driven to do so. Now, where I'm at, especially with this whole ninth year cycle, we're in 2025, everything's coming to ending. I don't have that drive anymore. And the reason why I don't have that drive is because I found the one tool, the one modality that has freed me from my emotions, and that's inner child work. And so I want to share that with you guys, for people who are looking to go deeper into their emotions. Understand that you are listening to someone who has put all their life into understanding their emotions holistically, mentally, spiritually, physically. I have put a lot of time and effort into try to understand how to make it easy for us to process our emotions. And so I am the person that is here to hold space for you, is here for you to have a better understanding about your own emotions. You can look at me like a dietitian. If you have struggles with your diet, have struggles with your eating habits, you reach out to a dietitian. If you have struggles with your emotions, you have struggles with your mental state, I'm an emotional practitioner. I am an alchemist. I am someone who has delved deep into that type of mystery and discovered the truth behind it. So I just want to put that out for people who still may not know who I am. And I'm going to be making a video soon on my story and how I came about. Okay. So let's get things started. All right. So let's get it started. First, I want to talk about addressing the shame around emotions. This is something that as a collective, we all go through. But I want to paint a little story right quick of how this thing plays out, because it's really a societal conditioning. It's a societal programming that we have all adopted, and we have never addressed it. We have never checked it. And that's why we still suffer with our emotions today. So this past Sunday, as many know, it was the Super Bowl. And I didn't really watch the Super Bowl. I just watched the halftime show, but I still had the TV on. And so towards the end, I saw that the Eagles coach was being interviewed, right? And he was saying what he was saying or whatever like that, giving his praises. And then the interviewer guy, he was like, Yeah, man, I know that you're a very emotional guy, and what you think about the blah 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 blah. And as I'm paying attention, the coach responds back immediately. Yeah, man, it's happy tears, man. It's all about happy tears. You know, I put a lot of time and effort, whatever he said, but I paused for a moment and I saw right there on the spot that society is always trying to shame a man for being an emotional being. The fact that he said, "Yeah, man, I know you're an emotional guy," shows you that he has classified or categorized this particular man as an emotional person. Therefore, that's how people view him. That's his identification badge in society. I notice this is something that's constantly being played out the in the men's space, in the men's circles, and just in terms of men in general, is that we have this unconscious belief that is literally guiding our narratives that we cannot cry or we cannot express our emotions because it is something that people, basically look down upon. Now, of course, the coach, he said what he said, and I think he had a little bit of tears, and then his family came and whatever like that, but this is a good example of showing you how shame is literally what blocks us from self-healing and self-love. So I wrote down something I want to share with you guys that I thought just could also help to this whole point of what I'm trying to make. Shame is one of the biggest obstacles to self-love and healing. It tells you that something is wrong with you for feeling pain, needing help, or wanting an emotional connection. This is what shame is doing on a consistent basis. This particular emotion is making us feel this particular way. And so we're talking about self love and the power of self love, or we're talking about self healing. We have to understand that we have to address the shame around our emotions. The shame comes from when we were children. When we were children, let's say from the ages from, say, 0 to 7, or from maybe 0 to 12, we had emotional expression. Our moms and dads didn't tell us too much about expressing ourselves. If we needed to cry, we cried. If we was angry, we was angry. But it did get to a certain age where our parents, especially for men, right? Our parents told us that, stop all that damn crying, boy. What you doing over there crying? Boys don't cry. You better man up. You better toughen up. Wipe your tears. Wipe your tears. What you doing? What you doing? Right? We kept hearing that over a long extended period of time that we thought, obviously, right, our parents are our first mentors. Our parents are our first guides, right? They're the first people who govern us and protect us and teach us what this world is about. So as men, if we have an example of what a man looks like, which is our father, and he's telling us these things, we're going to adopt his mindset because we're trying to be like him. So if he's saying don't do this, don't do that, boys don't cry, then we're like, all right, I guess boys don't cry. But naturally, when you came out the womb, that's the first thing you were doing. You were crying. So what shame does, that was given to us by our parents, it literally removes the natural flow of how we process our emotions. So we have to address shame in our lives. So when you feel those moments, even watching this video, if someone's watching this video and you feel in moments of like, yeah, bro, like I wish I could cry, or I wish I had the space to cry, ask yourself, why can't you? You should be able to do that with willpower. I'm sorry, you should be able to do that without willpower. It should just come effortlessly. It should just become just a normal process. So 9 times out of 10, it's the belief behind crying, is the shame that we all adopted that has kept us in a space of not releasing. So that's very big because this is one obstacle that we all have to address as men to get deeper into our healing work and to also start to love ourselves a little bit more. Because when it comes down to self love, it's a lot of vulnerability in that. And if you have shame around it, you won't never get to that vulnerability space to be able to hold space for yourself to release emotions or just to express your emotions. I'm gonna go a little bit further. If you're around people who make you feel shameful for expressing yourself, remove those people out your life. If you got friends, cousins, family, whoever, if they make you feel like, oh, look at this dude right here, he about to start crying. Oh, look at this dude right here. This dude's so emotional. Remove those people because they're perpetuating the belief that you cannot cry. And it's also keeping you stored with all these emotions and things that you know you need to release, and you're not releasing it because you're mindful how other people are thinking about you. It's not about them. It's all about you. Self-love is about you. It's self-love. It's about you. What do you need to do for yourself? It's so important that you be mindful of that. So cut off the branches around your family tree. Cut it off because they're not doing you a service. All right. And so now that we have addressed the shame, I want to talk about one of the biggest misconceptions. And there's a lot of misconceptions behind self love. But one of the biggest misconceptions as it relates to men in the context of helping men heal is that self love is about pampering. Self love is about grooming yourself. So, for example, getting a haircut, going to the gym, exercising, uh, building up money, getting a status, things like that. These things are very helpful. These things can help, put you in a better state of mind. It may make you feel a little bit better about yourself, knowing that you're taking care of yourself. But it's being done externally, not internally. Meaning that, you're getting a haircut, but what happens when you don't get a haircut? Does that mean that you don't love yourself? If you don't go to the gym, does that mean you don't love yourself? If you don't have all the money in the world, does that mean you don't love yourself? These things are still external, meaning that they can always be taken away from you. So just like COVID hit, right? When COVID hit, I knew there was a lot of men who struggle with their self-worth because they couldn't go out and get the bag. And so all men have been taught that, of course, we have to provide. So we can't provide and do what we've been told to do. We feel like our self-worth is compromised. So you have to be mindful that when it comes down to self-love, it's not about just grooming yourself all day. That's a part of it, but it's a small percentage of it. What that really means is that you actually need external validation. You seek external validation. But just think about it. You get a haircut, on the outside, people are going to say, oh, wow, that's a nice haircut. You got a nice beard. It's nice and all shaped up and shit. Oh, I like that. Or if you go to the gym, you start getting muscles, where people are going to say, oh, man, you got a nice body. I like the shoulders. I like the chest. I like the abs. You know what I'm saying? You start getting money, where people are going to say, oh, that guy right there got the bread. He got the money. Yeah, man, that dude right there, he got multi-millionaires. Everybody on the outside is giving you the praise. And so this creates an illusion of like, yeah, I do got these things. Yeah, I feel good about the fact that I have these things. And it boosts the ego up, and it makes you feel more proud. It gives you more pride knowing that you have developed these characteristics and these attributes about yourself. But if you remove, this is the truth in it. If you remove the money, you remove the barber, because a lot of people wasn't going getting a haircut during COVID. If you remove the gym, because a lot of people wasn't going to the gym during COVID, then what do you have? So that's the illusion that I want people to break out of, is that self-love is just not pampering. It's not just grooming yourself. You have to go deeper within yourself, and that's true self-love. So let's talk about the truth of self-love. Self-love is inner work, period. Self-love is doing the emotional work to heal yourself. Okay. So what I did was, and I thought this was very interesting. What I did was, okay, I went on ChatGPT. Shout out to ChatGPT. That's my dog, right? I went to ChatGPT and I typed in, what is the bravest thing that a man can do in the whole entire world? And I'm gonna try to like screenshot and maybe put it in the video or something like that. But I asked ChatGPT, what is the bravest thing that a man can do in the world? All right. And I'm gonna just keep it real simple because this is what it said, but I'm gonna keep it simple. It said the bravest thing a man can do is face himself, meaning that your inner child work, your childhood trauma, your emotional disturbances, your irritation, your reasons for why you may not like women, your reasons for why you always gotta go off on somebody, why you always gotta bully somebody, why you always angry, all these various different things. You have to face those aspects of yourself. By you facing those aspects of yourself, okay, you become what we call being brave. You develop courage. This is the bravest thing that a man can do in his whole entire existence. Because we could say a lot of different things, right? I know what was that thing was called? Um, I think it's called the Dailiest Catch or something. It was something on TV series where these guys will go out in the midst of the oceans and they catch all these crabs or whatever, and it's very dangerous and all this type of stuff. And we say a lot of various things, a lot of things that in the industrial industry that a lot of men do that is very dangerous. So we can say, oh man, these guys are brave. But what ChatGPT said, and I fucks with ChatGPT. I'm saying if you don't like ChatGPT, then I don't know what to tell you. But ChatGPT, that's my dog. For him to say that, it lets me know that this is the only part of the work that men are not doing. And I'm gonna just refer. Let me bring that back. I have belief in knowing that men are doing the work. It's just not publicly. It's not publicized. So I don't know what men are really doing. All I'm doing is constantly putting out the beaker to bring men through so men could start to do more of the work with things that I've gathered along to put them deeper into their healing journey. So I'm going to say that men are doing the motherfucking work because I'm tired of seeing the shit that men aren't doing the work. I don't know what men are doing. I know when I'm in a lot of these healing spaces, I don't see a lot of men, but that don't mean that men ain't doing the work. So I say that to say though, this is something that you can carry as an honor, a badge of honor. Knowing that you're doing the work is the bravest thing you can do as a man. So I would love for us to reframe it. When men talk about their emotions, when men talk about how they went through the experiences as a child, when men talk about their things they got going on at their job, when men trying to figure out how they're going to make their next bag, how they going to make the money flow, how they going to stay financially stable, and they need emotional support in that. Let's look at that like a form of bravery. Look at that as a form of being courageous versus like, oh, this dude's soft. Oh, look at this dude here always, man. Just do it. Just do what you gotta do. You just gotta be a man about it. That shit don't work in 2025. A lot of men don't resonate with that shit. I'm one of them. I don't resonate with that shit. I rather process my emotions, then go get the bag versus getting the bag and suffering while I'm getting the bag. That shit dead. No one does that shit no more. Or I'm gonna rephrase it. I don't know what people are doing. I know I don't do that shit. That shit does not work for me. I did the other route where I just go get the bag and just trying to get the bag. You know what I kept doing? Kept going down like this. Looking like a T-Pain fucking dance move. I'm going down. I'm going down. Constantly being drained. Don't work for me. You feel me? So I wanted to share that with you guys. So true self-love is you doing the inner work. It's you tying your inner work to your shadow work. It's doing the deep ass shadow work. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I want to talk about childhood trauma. All right. So we're gonna go a little bit deeper because now that we know that true self-love, right? If you're loving yourself like you're claiming you do, you need to be doing some childhood trauma work. You need to be going back to your past and revisiting those parts of yourself. So why do I say that? Why is that so important? We have to understand something about trauma. All right. Let me paint a scenario for you. Say you was 8 years old and your father physically abused you with a belt. I grew up, 1980s baby. My dad's and my mom's, they with me with a belt. All right. But let's just say this particular belt whipping that you receive was more like a physical abuse to where it's like he was tearing your ass up, putting some water on your back. Yeah, I had those experiences. Putting some water on your back. You know what I'm saying? And let's just say that traumatized you severely and you was not able to process that as a child. That trauma, right? Let's understand something about trauma. That trauma traumatized that version of yourself to where you're frozen in time. And what I mean by that is if someone was to bring you back to that particular reality, if someone was to tell you, hey, so what happened when you was 8 years old? Your body is going to literally freeze up. That version of yourself is frozen, literally. That's what trauma does to the body. And so let's just say you may not talk about those parts of yourself. And so what does that look like? That looks like you're not uh loving those parts of yourself. You're not addressing those parts of yourself. You're not doing the shadow work and trying to discover what's hidden in the shadows and bringing it to the light. So, doing the shadow work or inner child work is you going back and you addressing those parts of yourself that you neglected, that you rejected, that you don't accept, the things you hate about yourself, the things you wish you would have done better, the perfectionist in you that you wish was more perfected, the hypercritical part of yourself, and we're going to talk about that too, the inner critic, the part of you that's constantly judging the old aspects of yourself. You need to get into that space. And you need to spread a lot of love in that space, because a lot of that you experienced as a child was out of your control, but it still is your responsibility to go back and love those parts of yourself. That's the self-love that we're talking about. Paint another example, because this will let you know how much you truly love yourself. Think about it like this. Think about it like think about it like this. You have, okay, a friend, and you guys been knowing each other since um kindergarten, and you guys go out to a game, or I'm sorry, y'all go out to a party or something like that, and y'all having a good time, and y'all been knowing each other for a very long time. Y'all been knowing each other since kindergarten, and now y'all 28 years old. So it's 28 years of consistency and love and loyalty, and she or he or vice versa, whatever, knows each other. Y'all know each other very well, and y'all damn near like brothers and sisters, basically. Okay. And y'all go off to a party, right? And y'all doing y'all thing, having a great old time. Someone comes in the party and they have a gun on them. They start shooting up the club or shooting up the party. One of you decides to run, right? The other one's frozen because they have a trauma, so they froze. The other one runs, and you running and you running, and now you out in the streets and you running and you running and you running, and you didn't even realize you left your friend behind. Now you got two options. Now this is your best friend. You've been knowing this since day one, square one. Do you go back to see if they're okay? Or do you say, fuck it, I'm safe, I survived, I hope they made it? Based on whatever your answer is, because I can't do a Q&A, this is not a live. Based on whatever your answer is, what's determine how much you love yourself. And what I mean by that is, if you said, you know what, I'm good, I survived, I hope they made it, that's the same mindset that a lot of us is carrying as adults when we think about our inner childhood. When we think about going back and addressing our childhood traumas, we have the mindset of, it was in the past, I can't change the past, it is what it is, I'm not about to go back and deal with that. I can't go back and deal with that. My mom's not here anyway, so what's the point? My dad's not here. I'm good where I'm at. But your inner child, that other part of you that's frozen, still needs you to come claim, reclaim, to save, to heal, to integrate, to come back into wholeness. So you leaving a part of yourself is a part of you in the club. A part of you still needs you and needs your help. You just completely just deserted them. You completely abandoned them. That's an indicator to let you know how deep your self-love goes. Now, on the other side of it, right? If you did go back and you did go rescue your friend, that lets you know how much you love yourself. That lets you know how much you love your friend, which is your inner child. That you're willing to put your whole life on a line to save yourself. That's how deep self-love goes. It's not just the superficial external part. It's you going back and literally saving those parts of yourself. Okay. And so understanding that, hold on, I lost my train of thought. When you're doing inner child work, you have to understand that the reason why we have a lot of these, this is the most popular one, I'm not enough. I questioned a long time ago, why does everybody, and I mean everybody, have this one narrative? I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I could probably ask over 7 billion people in the world, and probably about a good 6 billion of them, let's just say, is a small percentage of people who haven't had those experiences. Let's say 6 billion people in the world would say, yeah, I had those thoughts before. Yeah, I be having feelings of feeling like I'm not enough. So I question, like, why does everybody have the same universal experience? And that's because when we were children, we already was whole. We already was enough. Intrinsically, naturally. No one had to tell us that we was enough. We were already enough. But we have a human interpretation, a human perception. And so now we're trying to navigate as a human in this physical existence, because we're spiritual beings, right? You have to keep that in mind. We are spiritual beings with our own level of consciousness, our own level of awareness. First, what comes behind that is this human consciousness. And so now we're taught that we're not enough because we experience physical neglect, emotional neglect, we experience rejection, abandonment. These trauma related experiences make us feel like we're not enough. And so then we adopt the narrative, I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough. Why? Because my parents didn't give me this, or my parents didn't share this with me, or I don't feel validated, or my parents don't make me feel seen, or I don't feel heard. These type of scenarios and experiences we interpret as I'm not enough, I'm not enough. And so now we carry this whole inner critic dialogue that I'm not enough. You have to understand the root experience, the root desire for your inner child. It only desires to be whole. It only desires to feel wholeness, to embody wholeness. And let me just throw this out here because I specialize in inner child work. Wholeness is just not a concept, or it's not something that you repeat as an affirmation. Wholeness is an actual spiritual experience. Wholeness is just like enlightenment. People can tell you what enlightenment is, but you will never know what enlightenment is until you actually go down the path to try to discover it for yourself. That's what wholeness is. Wholeness is an experience that only you can experience. I can tell you how it feels. I can tell you how to get to it, but you will never know until you actually do it. This is not something that I've experienced. I've also have several clients that also are saying the same thing. Maybe like in the first 1 to 3 sessions, they're already saying, I feel whole. It's an experience. It's not a concept. It is not just conceptualizing. Enlightenment was always something I always was gravitated towards. It was something I always went after. It was something I always tried to seek until I realized you don't seek enlightenment. You're already enlightened. It takes the person to realize that. And it's the same thing with being whole. But by doing the internal work, doing the emotional work, releasing the trauma, you start to become whole. You start to bring back those pieces of yourself. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's talk about the mythology of the Egyptian mythology of Set, Haru, and Osiris. I'm gonna keep it real brief. This is another indicator of what you're doing when you're doing the healing work. The healing work. You are saving your soul. Osiris, okay, just for people who don't know, Osiris was let's say the king of Egypt, and he had a brother named Set. Set was jealous of Osiris. So what Set did was set him up and basically got him killed. And what he did was he chopped up all his bits and pieces of his body and spread it all throughout Egypt. Haru, right, was the one who let's say what you want to say, reclaimed or redeemed or avenged his father's death. So he went around, him and Isis, which is his wife, they went around gathering up all of the pieces of Osiris to resurrect him, to make him whole again. This is the same concept of doing the deep inner work. There's aspects of yourself that is frozen. There's different aspects of yourself that is frozen, that is lost. It's called soul retrieval. You are literally going back and retrieving these aspects of yourself to become whole again. It's even in the mythology and it's playing out today. This is the type of work that we're doing. It's not enough to analyze. It's not enough to say, yeah, I remember when that happened. Man, that shit was crazy. Man, I'm so glad I got through it. That's not healing. That's you talking about it. You have to have an actual experience in your body. It's heartfelt. The soul resides in the chest. You can feel it in the chest when you integrate these parts of yourself. I'm speaking from experience. And I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm not saying that I have the tricks and you don't. I'm telling you that if you're looking to get into this work, please contact me because I can share everything that I've known up to this point. I'm willing to pour into someone. So they have the tools. So you have the system moving forward to how to operate not only with your emotions, but everything else that happens along your way. Okay. So keep that in mind. The Egyptian mythology is similar to what we're doing in this work. We are retrieving aspects of ourselves that got frozen in time due to trauma. That's the deep inner self healing work. That's self love. Okay. So I want to leave off with that note and then talk about the last piece. And so understanding that your inner critic, okay, let's talk about this right quick. The inner critic, that part of you that you're constantly hearing the negativity dialogues about, right? That you hate yourself, that you don't like how you did this, the perfectionist, the I wish I would have did it different. Oh, the one that's constantly judging, like why you do when you do that, why you do that all the time, like that's stupid. That hate, that self hate that you're constantly telling yourself, it did not come from you. It came from your parents. It came from your caregivers. It came from your social environment. It came from your teenager years. And so what we did was we believed that these things were us. And so we internalized it and it became part of our subconscious, our operating system. And so now we hear it play out like a chorus in our head. But it's not us. Because think about it, right? Let's be rational for a minute. Let's be real rational. Who will want to hear on a consistent basis that I'm not enough? Would you really go to, like, say there was a Walmart, right? That's and it was labeled I'm not enough. Let's say there's a Walmart called I am not enough. Who would go in that motherfucking store? Would you go up in the store and say, okay, I'm looking for the apparel and some shoes and some socks because I'm just not enough. I'm trying to wear the clothes that is the label I am not enough. I'm trying to put that on my shirt because that shit fly. Ain't nobody will rock that shit. We are not saying these things to ourselves. You're not consciously telling yourself, I'm not enough. It's subconscious. You don't even got to think about it. It just automatically happens, just like this. It's like clockwork. It didn't come from you, it came from your environment. So you got to give yourself compassion. When you hear that version of yourself, that aspect of yourself, don't feed into it and also give it more energy and then and accept it like, yep, I'm not enough. I keep fucking up. Don't do that because you keep feeding it. You keep giving more energy to it, so it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it becomes this demon or this shadow that's antagonistic, that's constantly devouring you, keeping your frequency, your vibration at a very low state. You can't rise above it because you gave it so much of your energy. So the inner critic is that part of you that criticizes every single thing that you do. It judges every single thing that you do. And so what you have to do is be aware of it. When you hear that inner critic come in, because it's all about awareness. When you hear it come in, you're like, oh, okay. There go my inner trigger. That's my self critic, my inner critic coming in is being triggered by something. And rather than accepting that, you replace it. with I am enough or I am worthy. Or you can feel how it feels to feel not enough. And if you can feel it, you can release it. So if it feels like a resistance, when you hear that, excuse me, when you hear that I am not enough, if you feel it in your body, allow yourself to process it. So I'm going to share some ways you can heal your inner critic. So like I said, you can be aware of the voice, right? Ask yourself when you hear that inner critic say whatever it says, would you say that to a child? Because I'm pretty sure the dialogue is pretty nasty. It's pretty hateful. Would you say whatever your inner critic is telling you? Would you tell that to a child? Would you repeat that to a child? And that alone will let you know that this is not you, and you would never say these hurtful things to anybody else. And as a reminder, that inner child is you. That child that you would not say that to is you. All right. Something else you can do to help heal the inner critic is reparent yourself. So this is something that I've talked about in many of my other videos. I'm going to be putting some more videos out about inner child work, but reparenting yourself comes from inner child work. So basically, you're going to be giving yourself the kindness, the compassion. You're going to be basically shifting into more of a parent role to help foster and help parent that inner child. So let's say from the ages from 0 to 7, whatever you didn't receive from between the ages from 0 to 7, you become the parent and you give that inner child version of yourself all of the love, all of the affection, all of the acceptance, all of the validation, all of the needs, all of fulfillment that that inner child did not receive between ages 0 and 7. So you become a parent to your younger self, to that version of yourself. And the easy way to do that is visualization. Visualize that part of yourself, speak to that part of yourself, and give that part of yourself the love that it did not receive between those ages. All right. Another thing that you can do is practice, of course, self compassion. Instead of the judgment, give yourself some grace and know that, this is what life is. Life is an up and down reality. It's a roller coaster. It's the law of rhythm. We're going to constantly go up and down with a lot of different things in our experiences, but it doesn't mean that you have to beat yourself up about it. That's just a part of life. This is a universal law. This is part of the Kabbalion. This is a part of the Tahuti laws. I'd highly suggest you guys look into Tahuti laws. The law of rhythm states that everything has an ebb and flow to it. What goes up must come down. Rhythm compensates. So whatever experience that we have is going to have an up and down to it. That doesn't mean we react every single time. This is a universal law. It's supposed to happen. So now that you understand that, you need to allow yourself to feel it and let go of it. Or allow yourself the compassion. Feel the compassion like, oh, I'm going through this. Okay, it's cool. You don't got to beat yourself up about it. You know what I'm saying? Also, daily affirmations. I personally am in between with daily affirmations because I found a more powerful way of doing daily affirmations, but or just doing affirmations in general. But I would say if you do practice daily affirmations, don't just say it. Make sure you embody the daily affirmations. So, for instance, if you say I am worthy, make sure that you move like you're worthy. If you say that I am valuable or I am loved or I am lovable, make sure you move like that. Make sure your actions reflect that affirmation because it's not enough to just repeat it. There's ways where you can do that in your long time, like record affirmations and play it to yourself before you go to sleep to help it get more deep into the subconscious. But you also want to support the affirmations by physical movement. So just don't say it. Make sure you embody it if you're going to do daily affirmations. And last but not least, of course, is inner child work. And like I said, inner child work, and like I said, I'm making more videos on this, but inner child work. And a matter of fact, I have a video that I've made on inner child work. I'm going to put that link. I'm going to put that video in the description as well. Inner child work is you connected to that younger version of yourself that's tied to all the trauma that you experience and also tied to all the unfulfilled needs that you haven't received. Those are the two things you want to focus on when you're doing inner child work. You take care of those two components, you're going to be in a great fucking space. You know what I'm saying? You take care of those two components and watch how your life changes. I put 1,000 on that. Okay. Um, and I think that's it, you guys. I think I kind of, yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, I want to leave off on that note. And like I said, for people who want to do inner child work, I do specialize in inner child work. I am a spiritual life coach. And so I take people through a 16-week course, and we go from the mud and we get to the sun. We go deep into the mud and we get to the sunlight. It's the lotus flower. I get you right through all your murky waters. I support you through the whole entire process. And I get you to the point where you start to feel a blossom within yourself. You start to feel this wholeness. Okay. Um, so please, if you're interested in that, send me a text, email. My website is in my link up in the bio. All the information is there, and I'll take care of you. We'll set up a consultation and we'll see if we're in alignment. Okay. And on that note, stay tuned for the next video. And if you guys were with me to the end of this video, please leave a heart at the bottom. Let me know that you guys have came through with the one time. And on that note, peace.